violence.
Come girls are bad girls. They cheat on their husbands, they are prostitutes, they are not serious. I mean,
barefoot boys are stingy.
Some people don't know how to pronounce.
We are bullied for our assets.
For many of us, these are just jokes. To some, comedy, memes that makes time spent on social media worthwhile.
I think hate speech should be derogatory information directed towards somebody based on who they are. It could be their ethnicity, religion, complexion, body size, whatever it is. Not necessarily the values that they adhere to, or their intellectual prowess, or their moral high ground, and stuff like that. So, language that is intended to belittle someone, abuse someone.
I've been a victim of hate speech right back in the days when I was in the secondary school. Yeah, I was in a school where we were bullied for our assets. I'm coming from Seoul. As a person from Seoul, our pronunciation does not really go well with other pronunciations. So we are bullied for the pronunciation, and at times you find it difficult to talk because you are worried about what you say, and you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to say something but you cannot say because you are feeling people will use it to laugh at you.
Sitting on a wooden chair in a small corner of my scattered dark room, I wondered why a sentence people claim to be just fun, harmless, continue to cause so much chaos.
I'm from Com, and the general norm about Com girls is that Com girls are cheap. They call us Koloyamo. So there was a point in time where if I want to tell somebody I'm from Com, I get ready to face the bullets that will come. So before telling I'm from Com, I'm like, don't say we're cheap. I'm not that person. You understand? So it's a norm that Com girls, they say Com girls are cheap. Com girls and Koloyamo, Mobinko, all those are they make you feel uncomfortable to talk about your ethnic group. So much that sometimes I feel like, okay, let me just say I'm from Babanki, or maybe from the tribe that is closer to my tribe, which is not Com. But I'm a proud Com person. But just say I'm Com already, give them this mindset that I'm cheap, I might be a prostitute, I might be, a player. So it's sad, and most times it's from social media.
Well, I would say the social media space is healthy, and at the same time it is very unhealthy. Because on social media, in talking about it being healthy, that is where we get to meet people and connect with people. And there are so many instances I've had with people who got jobs from social media, so be it Twitter, Facebook, and so on. The very first time I got to hear about Defyhatenow was on social media. So social media in that aspect is really healthy. But now also, social media can be very unhealthy when we now talk about citizen journalism, some cop journalists that have not yet mastered the profession. It becomes very unhealthy. Because we have people now who start sharing images that are gory. Some of them now start writing things that are not healthy. Because when you start having people say, date incumbent boy at your own risk, those kind of things now start bringing an unhealthy aspect of social media. Start making social media unhealthy for incumbent people, because when you see such a thing being a Kambet boy, it must definitely affect you psychologically. And that brings us now to talk about things, hate speech.
Hate speech, which is deeply rooted in discrimination, marginalization, and ethnic diversity, does not spare anyone, whether on social media or offline.
Looking at my body size and where I come from, I'm in Boro Fulani, and in the Northwest or in Cameroon, we are a minority. We are also an indigenous group, indigenous in the sense that we adhere to our values. So I have received several attacks based on my body size. People think I'm too skinny, and people think that a lot of Boro people do not go to school. So whenever I'm into spaces like this, they think that I'm a driver to somebody who's coming to talk. Or when I'm at the park, they think I'm a motor boy. I'm not the passenger. So I'm from womb. And we have the farmer-grazer conflict. I know that farmers are predominantly natives, and then the grazers are predominantly Fulanis. me. So at some point, I think we were denied access to the Wumbamenda route. based on our ethnicity. I mean, it was strictly prohibited for anybody who identified as Fulani or Muslim to pass through that road. And that's an example of a hate-motivated action that is that can trigger an attack on a community. For example, I'm a peace builder. If I dare to pass through that road, I would risk being killed. And the crime that I've committed is not necessarily taking my cows to call somebody's farm or something. It's that I'm a Muslim, or it's that I'm a Fulani, and that's how risky it is. So those are the kind of situations that I have experienced, and the kind of effect it has had on my mental health is it makes me paranoid. It makes me feel like people are looking at me wherever I'm going, because I cannot hide. My outlook is written, my ethnicity is written on my face, and you don't know who is looking at you. For example, I was attacked in Tarinko while I was traveling to home recently, and I was attacked because a woman told me that we go chop all women. So chopping all of us here means that I am Fulani and I'm part of the people who will be chopped. So it makes me feel scared. It makes me feel a lack trust towards people, and of course, you don't sleep well. You always have something to fear about.
Like relationship-wise, people don't take you seriously at one point. As long as you're from Com, they don't take you seriously. They believe that even if they get serious with you along the line, you're just going to dump them and go with somebody else. This is something that has happened to me. They just believe that Com girls are like that. I don't know if it's that they have bad encounters with Com people. I don't know what happened, but something, I don't know. I wasn't there when it happened, but I'm really facing the consequences. Like, really facing it. And then sometimes it gets to the level of parents. I remember a time I was dating this guy. I don't know if I should go into that. I was dating this guy, and then when he took me to his mom said, my son cannot get married from Com. Like cash. He was like, sorry, mom, my son will not get married to you because you're from Com. Okay, what did I do? Com girls are bad girls. They cheat on their husbands, they're prostitutes, they're not serious. I mean, I left there broken. I left there, it was really emotional for me, but I just had to, I was like, she doesn't know better. So that is how far it has really affected me as a person.
Surfing through WhatsApp status one time, I saw a picture, a meme that was like, you be the check waiting that you start date barefoot boy. I'm a barefoot boy. So and then I saw one time too that said, man con boys, they will stain your white. So I started thinking, if this is the knowledge that people have about barefoot boys and mancon boys, I'm someone who comes from barefoot and mancon. So I started thinking, how will the person I'm dating or the person I will date look at me? And if I stand in front of her parents, how do they see me? It starts, running these thought processes in my head, and starts getting me really worried sometimes. Like, what if they don't accept me? What if when that time is right, I stand in front of them and they say, barefoot boys, mancon boy, I beg, who sent you for that kind of place? How did you start? How did you start the relationship? And to the extent it's getting to marriage. So I had all of these thought processes through my head, and for, say, a minute or two, I felt somehow less of myself. I felt somehow like that person that is always going to let people down, that is always going to let ladies down, that is always going to a certain extent, I can get hyperbolic and I'll be like, shatter a lady's heart. So that's how I felt when I saw that.
In the community, how does it get to the community? Remember that we as of the crisis, we had a lot of incitement to violence on the social media. What was the consequence? Offline violence. Because when the diasporans say attack this area, those areas are not on social media. They are on the land. They are in the communities that we live. All right? So the people get to act now in the community. When they say burn this school in Alabukam, where's Alabukam? There's nowhere on social media like Alabukam, you get it? And they go there and it is burnt. Where does it happen? In our communities. When they say the Bali people, or for example, the Bali people are blacklegs, what happens? The other community starts looking at the Bali people as
there is this resentment in the community, and that is how it translates from the online platforms to the offline community. And we must with caps, all right, be able to see that the things that we sit on one end of the world and write behind our keyboards, the receptive party is able to comprehend it and accept it. If you were to be given the same message that you send out on social media, how receptive is it going to be to you? That's the question we have to tickle our minds with. It boils down to the think before you click campaign. Before you type what you want to type, are you thinking, are you reflective about it? This thing I want to send out, what development purpose is it for? The content I'm serving, we must scrutinize our own content. It's not just like in a newsroom where you do your write-up and then you pass it on to an editor to edit. There is more editing that goes on personally for you as an individual first before it goes on to the social media. So you must ask yourself several questions. This is me posting this. How is it helpful to the community? If it's not building, then don't post it. If you know that it's going to be detrimental to another person, then do not publish it.
The couple reality about these poisonous discourse sinks in when people from different communities do not want to associate with each other.
For example, maybe if somebody from Bakure said people from So are underdeveloped or people from So are primitive, it would go directly to play a role on how I will see people from Bakure. If I'm not very open-minded, I will instantly feel like maybe this person from Bakure is too developed and I'm too primitive, so we should not be interacting. And that instantly is already a blow to my personal growth as a person.
I really don't like it when people ascribe norms to people, like all com girls are cheap, some people don't know how to pronounce and all of that. So sometimes I get very defensive. Sometimes I get into fights with people on social media because of it, and that was one of the reasons I actually had to leave social media at that time, because when I meet a post like that, I go really hard on people, and that's why I said it wasn't healthy for me. So that's in the course of trying to combat hate speech on social media, I got really frustrated. So sometimes I attack people, I leave annoying comments too. Sometimes I fight it back to hate speech. It gets that bad sometimes. Okay, when you say com girls are cheap, I say, what about Bafu girls are like this? So I go hard like that. So I don't know if I was trying to fight it, I was trying to make it worse, but one of the things happened. So I used to normally reply to posts, to messages, to people's posts in a way that is not very friendly, get into fights, and then I got fed up and I had to leave media for some time.
You are from X community, I am from Y community. We have this difference, we have this similarity, but how do we use our similarities to outweigh the differences that we have? Okay, now it is a threat because once you keep inciting that Bali people are stingy, or Bali people are blacklegs, Bali people, they don't unite with other people, Bali people, once you see me as a Bali lady, you start reflecting on what Y told you about Bali people, and you are dealing with me now. You're not dealing with me with like wholeheartedly, but you're dealing with me and you're restraining. Whereas some of the things which are said about me are not true. How much of those things said about the Bali person or insult person or a Mancon person is true? Now, can they freely live in a community? No. If, okay, for instance, a road passes here and then this X community says that, okay, it is good that we tar this road, and if it links to a Baliman's area and it is the Baliman who is saying it, they now start saying that self-centeredness. Where they don't see the iota of it being a social responsibility for everybody or a path which can help a community. They start seeing it from an individual angle. That is where the whole thread comes in. And I want us to understand that once it starts coming in, there is a difficulty in development in every society that we live in.
Young people constitute more than 40% of Cameroon's population. Statistics shows that most Cameroonians on social media are youths. Best to say, they are the ones sharing these untrue and hateful stories.
Young people have a role to play on towards combating hate speech, building peace in their communities, mainly because they are the majority. They make a majority of the victims and perpetrators of the violence that we are experiencing in our community. So it means that they are the most important actor in any given conflict situation or peace building process. So the role of social media, like I earlier mentioned, is that young people use social media more, and that gives them leverage, to disseminate information that either make or mar our community. And if we can be able to get majority of them, majority of these young people to make, to amplify voices that call for peace, we will be living in a better community. So absolutely, young people have a role to play in this way.
The Cameroon government has taken the bull by the horn to make sure that perpetrators of hate speech are brought to book.
Speech is a crime, and if you want to look at sanctions and punishment, you know that once there is a crime in society, if government intends to arrest that crime, now those who go against that crime or those who are involved in such crimes will be punished. And now the law on hate speech, the 2019 law /020 of 24 December 2019 was enacted particularly for hate speech, because it's a, well, we say in law, it's a conventional offense. Hate speech is a conventional offense. So government enacted a 2019 law to sanction defaulters or offenders. And if you look at the penal code, it is section 241/1. That says that whosoever or anyone who spread hate by any means, and if you look at the word any means, it therefore means that it can be on social media, by writing, by communicating, by producing a play, by distributing material, even when it has to do with audiovisual, visual, and any means to spread hate speech. And if the consequences produce results that are damaging to an individual or to communities, that person can be punished in that circumstance. Or you may stir up a community. If the communication that you incite abusively or threateningly stir up a community, you'll be punished. And we should be very careful that the punishment years ranges between 1 to 2 years. That is the time punishment and the imprisonment term. But if you want to look at the fine in terms of cost that the accused person who has been found guilty after being tried in the court, you have to pay the fine of 300,000 to 3 million. But there is another provision that support that provision. I think that is article or section 1361 of the same penal code. That says that if the offender belongs to a political party or someone who is a head of a political party, a media entity, or a non-governmental organization, that sanction will be double.
So if we have the government who is there to bring up laws, but now we are asking ourselves, are they ready to teach us? Are they ready to teach the citizens? We have phones being imported into the country. How much of digital literacy is going on around the place? Now we begin from there before we even get to the laws. You cannot want to punish me for what you haven't taught me about. It is very basic that you teach me about what I should know, then you punish me if I go wrong, knowing fully well that I've been taught.
A lot of people perpetrate hate speech because they don't know the repercussions of that particular word. So begin by trying to make somebody understand that, look, what you are saying is just prejudice. It's not true. For example, you say somebody behaves like a woman. That is wrong. There's no particular behavior that is true for women. All right? And you are trying to belittle women, or why you cry so like a woman. That is demeaning. So it begins by, I think, raising awareness, trying to make the person understand that it's just a prejudice. Secondly, making them understand that what they are doing is actually having a repercussion on somebody's mental health. And then, shaking hands to make sure that we are on a good page. Absolutely.
Any law that does not apply anywhere is a dead law. A law is only living when the law is applied, so it's good to use. Now, if you look at our society, you will see that there are particular people who have not been sanctioned in our society because of the hate messages they spread over the past. So if we want to be very serious in Cameroon, we must test the application of our laws. Because if we have a legislation like the House of Parliament, the Senate, that goes there and enact law for Camerooners, and now once you see that there are certain people who violate those laws or abuse or contravene the law is not being tested or put into application, then we are just wasting time, resources, time, and anything we waste. Because let me say this, there are leading politicians who've incited, they are members of the military in Cameroon, they are members of media organizations in Cameroon. But I must take particular note that there are other bodies. I've read some information on social media as the Commission for Bilingualism, the national, has been doing some work on that, and the professional body charged with monitoring journalists in Cameroon, the National Communication Council. I've seen some work that they've done that have actually called some member for some kind of sanctions. But I think that it is good when you have bodies like professional bodies like the National Communication Council that does what it does, because they help in cooperating with government in curbing the proliferation of hate speech. Because if we are very serious, we will set examples that will serve as precedents, so that people will look at certain instances. I will not want to commit such crime, because hate speech is a crime. It is not that you are using diatribes, you are using cynicism, which is the extreme of criticisms, or you are using tirades. We are talking about insulting and abusive language against a targeted section of the population of a country. You understand? You stir up sentiments. That sentiment can result to violent actions and actually damage social cohesion and living together.
One sentence remains on the lips of every survivor. Youths have a role to play in combating hate speech on social media.
Basically, at the local level, at the layman's perspective, that is what we use for them. Now, as a fact checker, you want to get into all the tools you have, the Envy, the Teen Eyes, but on social media, to report a post which you have found that it is fake, it is hateful, it can incite violence, what you first need to do as an individual is first of all to understand the community standards of the platforms that you're using. What are community standards? Simply put, community standards are the rules and regulations of every platform that you're using. Be it Facebook, be it WhatsApp, be it Instagram, be it TikTok, be it YouTube, whatever platform you're using. What are their guiding principles? These are the things that you're looking at first. When you understand that, then once you see a post, you know what this post goes against. All right. Now go to Facebook's community standards number 12. You see everything you want to know about hate speech. Now it has a non-tolerant policy about hate speech. What are the things that it doesn't tolerate? You see them all there. Now on a post on Facebook where you are very sure that it goes against these community standards, what you need to do, there is a tap on 3 dots on some phones, and on another phone there is a V, which serves like a drop-down arrow. Once you click on that drop-down arrow, you will see the report post. You simply follow the steps. It asks you what exactly this post has gone against. You have to be very specific, because if it doesn't see what you want to report, they will not pull down the post. Okay? So you have as little as a comment that you can equally report. Now, you have the help or support. It comes as help or support, or you have the report post. So, right down to a comment, if you click and you hold the comment, it will pop up. You either see reply, you see copy, you see the report icon. You just have to click on it and then you follow the procedure.
Down the line, if hate speech is not curbed, it will continue. And it gets to a point where we're telling stories to our children, we're telling stories to our generation. And maybe from so I will be telling my child that people from Bayangi, people from Bakuri used to used to say that we're primitive or underdeveloped, and somehow it's building something in their mind. And if it goes on like that for generations, there will be a point in time where they'll want to retaliate. They want to retaliate, and it will lead to violence. Let's take a look at what happened to the Jewish community. What happened between what Hitler did to the Jewish community? That was hatred for a particular race. That was hatred for maybe for their religion. We even have the case of the Titus in Rwanda. There was a lot of hate speech towards them. So if down the line we don't do something, we will find ourselves in this same situation.
What will happen if we don't combat hate speech could be very ugly, absolutely ugly, something that neither of us would be able to live with. You know, hate speech comes from our thoughts. You know, our thoughts about a given person, about a given community, and then those thoughts are translated into words. And if we don't, you know, stop, because normally we are fighting hate speech in Cameroon today at the level of words. You know, a minister said this, an individual said this, an influencer said this about a particular group of people, and we need to fight that particular expression. You know, the next thing about words is that you begin to act upon those words. When you begin to act upon those words, example, prejudices, example, Ngororo people are violent, you know, they are inhumane, or bands of people are so and so, you know, just like what happened in Rwanda, people were called cockroaches. And when you begin to think that people are cockroaches, what you do to cockroaches is smash. So when people begin to act upon their words, their thoughts, that's where the problem is. So it can lead to genocide. It can lead to an attack on albinos, skinny people like me, fair people, fat people, whatever community we are talking about. So we have to combat his speech and avoid what is going to happen in the future.
An unhealthy space only makes life difficult for humans. A space where no one is held accountable for their misconduct can be disastrous. What will happen down the line? Some say it depends on the context. The journey to ending hate speech in Cameroon has started. And these survivors hope that one day their stories will be used to ensure that Cameroon becomes a hate-free nation.